So, Night Vision. If I had not already finished my top 10 worst How I Met Your Mother, this would have been number 2. It was not quite as bad as Bro Mitzvah, but it was still really bad. There were 3 storylines in this episode, and only one I really enjoyed. But I wanted to watch again because I wanted to really analyze why this episode made me angry, because it did make me really angry. And it wasn't just that there was an unfair stereotype in this episode. We have the introduction of Robin and Barney's minister. And unsurprisingly, he's this stuffy, old world, first words out of his mouth are he tells Lily she dresses like a whore, and isn't that funny, because he's religious and they don't have fun. And, unfair stereotypes happen all the time in the media. What really bothered me about this was his character was so flat. There was nothing real about him. I go to church. I know a lot of Christians. I don't know any of them who act like this guy did. He was a construct. And so the conflict here is that, Robin and Barney lie about the way they met because, they want to get married in this church and they want this old world minister to like them. So the resolution they have to eventually come to is they should be proud of how they met because it brought them together. And, it's a simple resolution. I'm glad they came to that conclusion because they should be proud of how they met and they should be happy that they found each other. And, life is messy and the messiness should be celebrated. It shouldn't, be, you shouldn't have to lie about it but it did not feel like a personal revelation, like, oh, we're going to take control of our story because it's our story and it's special to us and it's meaningful. It felt like a cheap way to stick it to this preacher, like, oh, this is who we are and there's not a thing you can do about it. But oh, please, let us be married in your church, even though we, let's rebel against you and everything you believe in as much as possible and flaunt it in front of you. But also, please, let us get married in your church, even though we have no emotional connection to it beyond it's cute. Yes, it was nice to see Barney and Robin own up to and say that they like their story because it's their story. They should. But it made me uncomfortable when they got to that point where Robin says, "I love that you lied to me when you proposed to me." Like I've said, I like Barney and Robin together. They work in some weird way, but, him manipulating her every insecurity to get her to want him again is one of my least favorite things about this show. And I don't know why they're proud of that. Okay, yes, be proud of who you are and what you like and the person you choose to be, but that proposal still makes me uncomfortable. And I don't feel like there's been enough emotional connection between them in this season to justify the fact that they're getting married. And then, so they have this big triumphant speech, and the preacher dies because it's so shocking. He can't stand it, and he has a heart attack right on the spot. Stuffy old minister, and it's played for laughs. And then it's immediately written off as like this big inconvenience now for Robin and Barney. Not, oh my gosh, someone just died. It's like, oh great, well now we have to find a new minister. Granted, he was not much of a character to begin with. There's no emotional connection to his death, so it makes sense that they did not play any kind of emotional connection to it. He was barely a character. But it felt like another mean-spirited waste of a plot. The other story that I didn't really like was Ted and Cassie. Just because Ted comes across as the biggest jerk on the face of the planet. He's only nice to her because there's a possibility that they're going to have sex. Every time it looks like that's not going to happen, he acts like just spending time with her is this big inconvenience to him. This is the kind of thing Barney would do, not Ted. It felt way out of character. It was painful to watch. The only good thing about it was the night. I really enjoyed the night. You know, because every time the night came up, it was fresh and new. They changed it in some way. So it was still funny every time they did it. And, you know, that actor looked like he was having a genuinely good time with that part. So I was having fun just watching him. The only storyline I actually enjoyed, the third one, was strangely enough what I was looking forward to at the top of the season, which was Marshall and Daphne in the car together. And we finally get to see quite a bit of that when Daphne helps Marshall prepare what he's going to say to Lily. I laughed out loud throughout that whole storyline. You know, it was well written. It felt like real people talking to each other, and it was well acted. Everyone, you know, Jason Segel, Allison Hannigan, Sherry, I can't remember her last name. You know, they all did a fantastic job, and every time Allison Hannigan's mouth opened up and Sherry's voice came out of it, that was, you know, it worked the whole time. It made me laugh. It made me happy. It made me glad I was watching the episode. There was not enough of that in this episode. And it brought back the storyline. I had completely forgotten about this, but it brought back the story point that Marshall took the judgeship in New York and Lily's preparing to move to Rome. I thought, the direction I thought they were taking that in was Lily was going to go off to Rome and Marshall was going to stay in New York, and with a kid, how are they going to work it out? I don't think at this point that we're going to see how they get to that point, because the way it looks is they're really going to end this season with Ted meeting the mother, and that's going to be it. I would really have liked to see how they worked out the Rome storyline, but maybe they're just going to tell us instead of showing us. You know, it's always better when you show how something works than tell us this is what happened to Marshall and Lily and Rome and the judgeship. But it looks like that's what we're going to get. So, Marshall and Daphne's storyline, thoroughly enjoyable. The rest of it was just painful to watch. And it reminded me of something my sister said when I was catching her up on season 8 on Netflix. We got about halfway through the season and she said, it doesn't feel like real people talking to one another anymore. It feels like actors, you know, reading a script. And of course it's actors reading a script, but the key is to write dialogue in situations that feels real enough that you forget that it's actors reading a script. And somewhere along the line during season 8, How I Met Your Mother lost that authenticity that it had in the earlier episodes. And we haven't gotten it back. If anything, this season is 100 times worse. It feels like it's limping toward the finale, and it's going to be a relief when it gets there. So, I hated this episode. I don't even want to... I don't really care anymore. I kind of just want to wrap it up. I want to see how he meets the mother, and that's the only reason that I'm continuing to watch, because by this point there's nothing else keeping me tied to this show. So there you go. One of the worst episodes we've had so far. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what you're hoping to see in the coming weeks. And I'll catch you next time. Take care.